Consider leaving New York right now if you don't want to be its next victim. A quarter of its population lives in poverty, not because they're lazy, but because the system has turned against them. The high-rises still shine, Broadway still lights up, but beneath that glow, hundreds of people sleep in parks, under lightning bridges, or huddled in train stations.
I've been on the streets in New York for a couple months.
New York used to be the epitome of the American dream, but now it's reflecting your reality. Even the stable have no place. In this video, we explore a different New York, the New York of the forgotten. Number 1. The reality of homelessness in New York. New York City, one of the world's leading economic and cultural capitals, is facing a prolonged and increasingly complex housing crisis. Beneath the dazzling skyline and lights that never go out lies a stark contrast. Tens of thousands of people struggling daily just to find temporary shelter or even a safe place to sleep for the night. According to the New York City Department of Homeless Services, as of April 2025, approximately 108,000 people sleep in shelters each night, including over 37,000 children. Over 70% of this population are families with kids. This shows that the housing crisis is no longer just affecting individuals. It's impacting entire vulnerable households. Data from the Coalition for the Homeless indicates that, on average, 1 in every 106 New York City residents is homeless or living without stable housing, the highest rate in the United States at this time. That's a reality not limited to just low-income neighborhoods. It is present across all boroughs, including the Bronx, Brooklyn, and even parts of Manhattan. It is not uncommon to see individuals lying on sidewalks, resting in parks, or sheltering near subway stations. Landmarks once considered icons of the city, such as Times Square and Central Park, now also reflect this grim reality. This is no longer an isolated or temporary issue. It is a symptom of a deeper urban dilemma that must be recognized as a humanitarian crisis, demanding comprehensive and compassionate solutions. Number 2. Why are so many losing their homes? The homelessness crisis in New York City doesn't stem from a single cause. Instead, it's the result of multiple overlapping factors that have built up over time, from economic instability and housing policies to unexpected personal events. Sometimes, all it takes is a lost job, a rent increase, or an unplanned medical bill for someone to lose their home within a few months. While many homeless families in New York City cite job loss or reduced income as major immediate causes, there is no public data from the New York City Human Resources Administration in 2022 that confirms more than 40% specifically lost their homes due to these reasons. At the same time, the National Low-Income Housing Coalition reported that a minimum wage worker in New York would need to work more than 100 hours per week just to afford a one-bedroom apartment at the average market rate. Beyond economics, a severe shortage of affordable housing is pushing more people to the margins. A 2021 study by the United Nations Human Settlements Program, also known as UN Habitat, identified New York City as one of the metropolitan areas in North America experiencing the fastest decline in housing accessible to low and moderate income households. This means that even people with full-time jobs are struggling to find housing that fits their budget. The crisis is further intensified by the fact that social support systems such as housing subsidies, public housing availability, and welfare programs are not expanding at a pace that matches population growth and cost of living increases. Many fall into what is known as the gap group, Not poor enough to qualify for assistance, but not earning enough to survive independently. This is no longer just a personal issue. It reflects the strain of a system that is failing to catch people before they fall. Comment, working poor, if you believe having a job should mean having a home. Type it, face it, and don't blink, because what we show next will challenge your view of the system. Number 3. Real people, real struggles. Behind every statistic on homelessness, there is a real human story, often shaped by circumstances far beyond personal control. In many cases, these stories reveal how fragile stability can be, even for those who did everything right. Gerald, a 67-year-old veteran who once served in the United States Army, is one such example. After retirement, he lived off a modest military pension. But when rent in Brooklyn surged beyond his means, he lost his apartment. Now, he resides in a temporary shelter in Queens. In an interview with New York One News in 2023, he said, "I always believed that if you followed the rules and worked hard, you'd be fine. But here I am, sleeping outside in winter under 3 thin blankets." Randy, age 52, worked in logistics at a warehouse in the Bronx. After his wife passed away from cancer, and with medical bills piling up, he could no longer keep up with rent. Within 6 months, he was homeless. In an interview with the Coalition for the Homeless in 2022, he shared how he now survives by collecting recyclables and relying on free food stations. According to a 2023 report from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, nearly 20% of homeless individuals in New York City were formerly veterans or full-time wage earners. This data confirms a broader truth. Homelessness is no longer limited to the chronically unemployed. It is spreading across groups once considered economically stable. These individuals are not exceptions. They are evidence of a system under stress, one that leaves little room for recovery once someone falls out of its safety net. When those who served their country or contributed to its workforce are now sleeping on sidewalks, we are no longer dealing with personal misfortune. We are witnessing the breakdown of structural support. Number 4. Glamour vs. reality in the Big Apple. Nighttime in New York City is breathtaking. Thousands of windows glow across towering buildings. Traffic hums under glowing signs. Ads flicker with promises of luxury. But just 1 block away, under the same neon lights, someone is sleeping on cold pavement with nothing more than a thin blanket and a cardboard sign. This isn't just a visual contrast, it's a human one. In the same neighborhood, one person is heading into a high-end restaurant. Another is warming their hands over a subway grate. Both are part of the same city, yet their realities couldn't be more different. Famous landmarks like Times Square and Central Park, once seen as places where dreams began, now also bear the quiet signs of struggle. Shopping carts filled with blankets, handwritten signs asking for food, and makeshift shelters line the edges of sidewalks. These scenes aren't always loud or chaotic. Often, they're quiet. People sleeping, people waiting, people trying to stay unseen in a city that never stops moving. What's most striking is that many of those without homes are not disruptive. They don't want attention. All they ask for is safety, rest, and dignity. But in the rush of daily life, they have become nearly invisible. Life in New York moves forward. The city shines. Business deals continue. Crowds gather. But a growing number of lives unfold in the shadows, just beyond our gaze. This isn't simply a matter of wealth gaps. It is a test of empathy. How do we measure success in a city where some residents walk past luxury watch stores while others sleep beside the display windows? This contrast doesn't just reflect inequality, it reveals a deeper question. What kind of city have we become if we no longer even notice? Number 5. When basics become unaffordable. When was the last time you went to sleep knowing tomorrow would be okay? Not because the weather was clear, but because you had a roof over your head and a plan that felt stable. In today's New York City, that feeling of certainty is fading. And not just for low-income households. Even people with steady jobs are feeling the strain. Imagine this. You work full-time. You show up every day. And yet, you cannot afford a simple one-bedroom apartment. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2023 report, a person earning the minimum wage in New York must work more than 100 hours every week just to afford a modest one-bedroom rental. As of late 2024, the median monthly rent in Manhattan was approximately $4,395, depending on the apartment size and location. That figure is no longer just a challenge, it's a barrier. Even basic groceries have become pricier. As of December 2024, a dozen large eggs cost approximately $4, and a popular breakfast sandwich, like a bacon egg cheese roll, costs around $7 to $8, not $20. With a minimum wage of $15 per hour, that means a single hour of work barely covers one carton of eggs. That's not exaggeration, it's the math of survival. Older adults are especially vulnerable. Even when living as frugally as possible, they still need between $1,200 and $1,500 each month, just for utilities, internet, medicine, and transportation. Rent is extra. For some, the choice is between paying for a bus pass or filling a prescription, between breakfast or staying warm that night. This is not just about inflation. It's a sign that the basics of daily life, food, shelter, medicine, are now financial hurdles, even for full-time workers. What does it say about a society when someone who works 8 hours a day still has to stand in line for donated groceries? If these essentials are now beyond reach, are we still talking about a cost of living or a price on surviving? Number 6. The quiet collapse of the middle class. Once viewed as the foundation of American society, the middle class in New York City is now showing signs of collapse, and it is happening quietly, not through dramatic headlines, but through daily decisions that no longer add up. This is not about luxury, it is about survival. A decade ago, renting a modest apartment in the Bronx could cost fewer than $1,000 per month. Today, that same apartment might be listed for more than $2,500. In many cases, it has been renovated and rebranded to attract higher-income tenants or international investors. This data comes from the New York City Rent Guidelines Board report published in 2023. Is it really progress if it drives away the very people who built the neighborhood? For many middle-income families, life is now a series of trade-offs. Pay rent or fill a prescription. Turn on the heater or put groceries on the table. These are no longer theoretical questions. They are lived realities. The elderly are particularly at risk. Many rely on fixed retirement income that does not rise with inflation. When rent takes up more than half of their monthly benefits, what remains for electricity, transportation, or healthcare? A 2022 study by the Urban Institute found that over 43% of middle-income New Yorkers now spend more than 30% of their income on housing. This qualifies them as cost-burdened, meaning their ability to afford other necessities is severely limited. This isn't the result of personal failure. It's the outcome of a system where housing markets are driven by profit, social programs are stretched thin, and policy has failed to keep up. As prices rise and wages stay stagnant, the gap between stability and hardship narrows. What happens when even the so-called stable are no longer secure? Who will catch those who fall, not from poverty, but from pressure? Number 7. The high price of simply surviving. Have you ever imagined that eating 3 regular meals a day could become a luxury? In New York City, that idea is no longer an exaggeration. It is the daily reality for many working individuals. A single bus ride now costs more than $3. For someone needing 2 transfers daily, transportation alone eats up over $100 a month. Add to that the cost of essential medicine, internet bills, and utilities, and you've barely scratched the surface before rent even enters the picture. And food is just one part of the story. Essential monthly expenses, electricity, water, gas, internet, medicine, and public transportation add up quickly. Even for older adults living as frugally as possible, the monthly cost of basic needs ranges from $1,200 to $1,500. That amount does not include rent. Many must make difficult choices: refill a subway card or pay for heart medication, eat breakfast or stay warm at night. These are no longer the questions of those who are struggling. These are the questions of people who work full-time jobs every single day. A report from Feeding America, as of 2023, stated that approximately 2.3 million people across New York State experienced food insecurity, but specific weekly figures for New York City alone were not provided. How can we define this as stability if people who work full-time must stand in line to receive free groceries? When the price of simply getting by exceeds the wages people earn, the term cost of living begins to lose meaning. What we see now is not about lifestyle, it is about survival. How long can a city thrive when the people who make it run can no longer afford to live there? Comment, vanishing middle, if you see the system failing those who once stood strong. Stability isn't promised. Speak it now, because silence won't stop the slide. Number 8. Are we still paying attention? People experiencing homelessness have not disappeared. We have simply stopped seeing them. On the streets of New York City, the image of someone lying beneath scaffolding or curled up in a subway station no longer shocks us. Why is that? Are there more people in need, or have we just become used to their presence? Familiarity can lead to distance. When someone becomes part of the city's background, rather than an individual with a name and a story, something shifts. Although Pew Research Center surveys show growing concern about affordable housing and homelessness in urban areas, there is no 2023 Pew report stating that over 60% of urban residents believe homelessness reduces neighborhood quality, or that only 28% support community-level assistance. These numbers are not about cruelty. They reflect a widening disconnect. We often protect ourselves with assumptions. They chose this life. They didn't try hard enough. Or worse, they are not like me. But in truth, many people without housing once paid taxes, went to work, and lived according to social expectations. A single event, a layoff, an injury, or a rent increase pushed them out. And when they tried to return, they met invisible walls, skepticism, judgment, and outdated policies. In some neighborhoods, residents strongly oppose building new shelters, claiming it would affect safety or property values. Others campaign against creating affordable housing options nearby. No one says it out loud, but our actions speak clearly. They are not welcome. This mindset doesn't just shape public opinion, it shapes law. Without compassionate policy, people become statistics, and the system keeps turning. So here's the real question. Can a city truly move forward if it learns to look away from its most vulnerable? Number 9. Hope on the margins. In a city where life moves fast and prices rise faster, you might think there's no room left for kindness. But behind the scenes, many New Yorkers are quietly doing something remarkable. They are choosing to care. In the Bronx, a group of middle-aged women converted an old recreational vehicle into a mobile kitchen. Without corporate backing or government funds, they cook and deliver more than 300 hot meals each week to individuals living outdoors. No one should go to bed hungry, says Lorraine, the group's founder, as quoted in New York Local Voices, 2023. In Brooklyn, a small church runs evening reading classes for children who live in temporary shelters. The lead teacher, a single mother who was once homeless herself. Now, with a stable place to live, she returns each week to help others avoid the road she once traveled. At the city level, programs like Safe Haven, supported by the New York City Department of Social Services, are trying to bridge the gap between street homelessness and long-term housing. In 2023, these efforts helped more than 4,000 individuals move from the streets into transitional shelters with access to support services. These stories are not headlines, but for someone who finally sleeps indoors after months of freezing nights, they mean everything. Yes, the numbers remain overwhelming. But every time a neighbor cooks a meal, a volunteer teaches a lesson, or a shelter opens a door, something shifts. That small act becomes a reminder that human dignity still matters, even in hard times. These people are not waiting for policy to fix everything. They act because they understand the cost of being forgotten. Is it enough? Maybe not yet. But it proves one powerful truth. Compassion survives, even when the system lags behind. Number 10. What kind of city do we want to be? New York City did not fall in one night. It cracked slowly, like an aging building given a fresh coat of paint each year. The surface polished, but the structure beneath quietly weakening. The data on homelessness, rent, and economic strain are not just numbers. They are signals, warnings of something larger. They raise a difficult question. Can a city truly thrive if it leaves behind the people who built it? Not everyone gives up. Many still choose to stay. They wake up each morning, go to work, support their families, and believe change is still possible. But belief alone cannot hold up a city, not without action. In Albany, the state's lawmakers are caught between two powerful forces. On one side, the real estate industry, backed by massive lobbying budgets. On the other side, hundreds of thousands of ordinary citizens holding hand-painted signs demanding the right to live with dignity. Meanwhile, young people are leaving. Retirees are struggling. Essential workers are just barely hanging on. Who will keep the soul of the city alive? New York was once a destination for dreamers, a place where people arrived with nothing more than a suitcase and the hope of a better life. But today, that dream is being priced out. This isn't just about one city. The crisis in New York reflects a broader shift in the United States, a system that seems to be running faster than the people it's supposed to serve. The future is not a distant idea. It is being shaped now by decisions made daily. Rent control legislation, budget allocations for public housing, urban redevelopment plans, police reform. These are not just policy debates. They are pieces of a much larger puzzle. And here's the truth. If each piece is placed with care, there is still time. Time to restore balance. Time to put people above profit. Time to remember that cities are not made of buildings. They are made of memories, relationships, and belief. If New York can remember that, if it can hold on to those who still believe, then no matter how dark things get, recovery is still possible. But if it loses the people willing to fight for its future, what will be left of the dream? In New York, homelessness is no longer a crisis for a few. It's a warning to all of us. These are real stories, real lives, and a system that's being stretched. Like, share, and subscribe to Roamkind for more powerful, in-depth stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. Based on real data and lived experience, this video is meant to raise awareness and inspire conversation, not judgment.